that there's a story behind of وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرُونَ. So I'm
Yeah.
going to give you the story, and then because وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرُونَ is not an ayah by itself, it is part of an ayah.
Right.
So you said that it means to the meaning that it is not met, or it is not, you may want to say, encountered or allocated, except there's one exception to the sabirun, those who are patient, correct?
Right.
It reminds me, one, there is that one, and this is the reason why, the 99th core, we're going through them. And we're making clear to everyone that we are giving you these Ismullah al-A'zam. But we're not going to read the content like at the bottom, if you read it this amount of times and this will happen. We don't want to do that. But honestly, if one is calling on the beautiful name, the beautiful attribute, Ya Sabur, Ya Sabur, Ya Sabur, Ya Sabur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers that one with that attribute. This is this point that a lot of people need to understand. One who is patient doesn't just mean that they do not complain openly. A patient one cannot say, I'm running out of patience. This means that you had no patience to begin with, because then you would not know what your level of patience, you would not even be measuring it. And patience is something that grows, it does not stay saturated, it also decreases, just as faith. That's why the two go hand in hand. So, this particular perspective. Now, what is the ayah in its totality? This is the question. وقال الذين أوتوا العلم ويلكم ثواب الله خير لمن آمن وعمل صالحا وما يلقاها إلا الصابرون. Those who are of knowledge, وقال الذين أوتوا العلم ويلكم, they said to them, woe to you. Now in this case, woe, in other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's curse be upon you. Woe to you. Thawabullahi khayrun. The reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, khayrun, it is better. Liman amana, for the one who believes. Wa amila saliha, and does the righteous deed. The righteous deed. In other words, it has to be done for solely the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Secondly, it must be done in according to the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Otherwise, it's not a righteous deed. Anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Amilu salihat in the Quran, and somebody thinks it's just a good deed, then they're sadly mistaken, because a good deed can be done by anyone, whether they are believers or non-believers. They can also do good deed, but the righteous deed can only be done by a believer. So this is the importance here. Now, what is the situation? There was Qarun. Qarun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him so much wealth, so much so that he abandoned the cult of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he also abandoned living amongst his people as well. He was prejudiced of those who did not have much, and he sided himself with Fir'aun. We all know what happened to Fir'aun. Qarun had so much wealth is that the keys to his wealth, 80 of them had to be assembled, or 80 of them, 80 donkeys had to carry, 80 mounts had to carry his keys. That's how many keys he had. In other words, bag full of keys. 80 donkeys are carrying these keys. And this is how much wealth that he had. And he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قال إنما أوتيته على علم عندي. He said that he was given knowledge that was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore he had everything that he needed to do. أولم يعلم أن الله قد أهلك من القرون من هو أشد منه قوة. So does he not know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has punished those before who were even more strong and wiser than him? You understand? So this is the story behind that. And today, as a matter of fact, you will not find the same type of wealth today. When they had wealth back then, they had it in gold. They had it in real wealth. They had it in what you will consider wealth that is original. They had it in, what is this called? The unfinished product form of wealth. It's like if you found a diamond and then you started to slice it up. You know the difference. So this is the situation. They had it in that type of form. Compared to today, the dollar is not backed by anything. You understand? The dollar is not backed by anything. Yet Allah Ta'ala, He used them for an example for eternity, period. And that is the situation. So those who believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have to embrace and live upon the Shahada. If they do not do it, then they are like the likes of Qarun and Fir'aun and Haman. That's why the stories are clear for everyone to see. Even in the case of Fir'aun, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do to him? And at the end of the day, what did he do to Qarun? فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَارِهِ الْأَرْضِ. This is the continuation. وَمَا يَلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرُونَ. The moment that they were advised of that, the moment that they were told of that, Allah does not follow the next ayah with anything other than فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَارِهِ الْأَرْضِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seized him by making him sink into the ground. And it says that on the same time that Fir'aun was getting punished, he was getting punished too. And it says that he was just walking, and they were carrying his cape in the back, and next thing you know, he just went into the ground, and then he's going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the ground. And it says that he will continue on like this until the day of judgment. And Allah knows best. But the point of the matter still remains, if we say that we are, the followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're living upon his example. We have to do as he did. We cannot take step backwards like people are used to saying, this is this period, that is that period, this time, that time, back then things were this, now things are like that. No, because Allah is still one. Allah then is Allah now. The Quran then is the Quran now. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's example then is his example today. If you deny any of that, then you're not in Shahada. Because you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, you are testifying, you are pledging to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the one deity, and then you say Muhammadur Rasulullah. Muhammadur Rasulullah, this just means that, you acknowledge it, but now you have better things to do. You're too busy, you're too occupied, or you just don't have time, or it's enough that you know about it and you don't apply it, or however. This is something that people need to wake themselves and reform themselves about, because if they do not, obviously, just as one can predict that I'm going to get an F on my next exam because I did not study for it at all, is the same way they can expect to go in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with an F grade. فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. Sahabas identified themselves through the Quran. When it was dark at night, they identified themselves with the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is between Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhuma. But if you stop and you think about it, yes, what is going on when you do not discuss their military careers? Sayyidina Umar al-Mukhtar, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, Sayyidina Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, Sa'id ibn Zayd. Where's the military career? You see, and this is something in which today is a big problem for our society. Boys are growing up to be girls or women or females or children. People are losing because of the fact that they do not know the message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave, so they're not able to live peacefully, because al-Islam is peace and they're running away from the peace. So the problem then becomes more of a social economic situation. Our people need the reality, they need the message to be deliberated, or to be liberated from, these shackles of ignorance. This is so bad. This is simple and clear, brother. That's all. Wallahu al-musta'anu ala ma tasifun. And I love that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in the expedition or the conquest of Mecca, he is using a lot of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam's saying, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm yaghfirullahu lakum. He says that. And there's also another one, I don't want to be misquoted, but it is extremely interesting. You know that the Fathul Makkah was during Ramadan, right? Yes, brother, and I really have to